the final showdown before the Fourth Plenum. General Zhang Youxia moves troops toward Beijing. Can Xi still find a way to fight back? And what hidden truth lies behind the Yu Menglong's tragedy? The real story points directly to China's top leader. Welcome back to Final War with Katherine Hu. We've been following two of China's most consequential stories: the high-level power struggle in Beijing and the ongoing investigations surrounding Yu Menglong's mysterious death. At first glance, they may seem unrelated, but beneath the surface, they are deeply connected. In just 2 weeks, on October 20th, the Chinese Communist Party will convene its long-delayed Fourth Plenary Session. This meeting could redefine China's political future. The most watched question: will Xi Jinping, citing health reasons, announce his retirement? At this decisive moment, can Xi still turn the tide? What moves will General Zhang Youxia and the party elders make? Who ultimately was the real hand behind Yu Menglong's death? Stay with us until the end, because what we're about to uncover could change how you see everything inside Beijing. And please share this episode so the truth behind these events can reach more people. Now let's step into the storm gathering over the capital. The political storm over Beijing was already gathering before the public noticed. On September 29th, the party finally announced the long-delayed Fourth Plenary Session of the 20th Central Committee, to be held from October 20th to 23rd. A one-year delay for such an important meeting could mean only one thing: serious turmoil at the top. The signs appeared a day earlier. On September 28th, drivers on the highway from Baoding City, Hebei Province, to Beijing witnessed a long line of military vehicles, around 200 trucks, heading straight toward the capital. The convoy included armored carriers, supply and troop transports, and medical units. By simple count, more than 3,000 soldiers were on the move. Baoding City is the headquarters of the 82nd Group Army, a unit personally trusted by General Zhang Youxia. Within the system, it is known as the Imperial Guard of Beijing, the elite force charged with protecting the capital and, by extension, the party's core leadership. Why did this army move toward Beijing? And in broad daylight, on one of China's busiest highways? The message was unmistakable. It was not a covert deployment, but a calculated show of control, a reminder that ultimate authority in Beijing rests with those who command the military, not merely with those who hold the titles. Officially, state media framed it as a security operation supporting upcoming national events. Yet to political insiders, it looked very different. A deliberate display of strength. A quiet warning delivered on the eve of the Fourth Plenum. According to multiple insiders in Beijing, the framework for China's next leadership lineup has already taken shape. General Zhang Youxia, together with party elders Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, has reportedly reached a consensus. Wang Yang would become General Secretary, Hu Chunhua would serve as Premier, and Xi Jinping would step down at the upcoming Fourth Plenum, handing over both party and military authority. To many observers, that arrangement would mark a stable and even hopeful turning point, a chance for a managed transition within the party. but Xi's camp is not prepared to let go. Behind the scenes, his loyalists have been working to push another scenario, a half exit, in which Xi retains his titles and symbolic authority even as others assume real control. This political tug-of-war reveals the deepest vulnerability of the anti-Xi coalition, a weakness Xi himself fully understands and exploits. The elders insist that the handover must appear orderly and legitimate. They want Xi removed, yet they also want to preserve the party's continuity. In short, they hope to end his dominance without shaking the entire system. They are trying to change the ruler without changing the rule. And in that cautious balance lies their trap. Their desire for stability has tied their hands and given Xi precisely the leverage he needs to resist. For Xi to step down in a legal and orderly way at the Fourth Plenum, there is only one scenario. He must voluntarily announce his retirement, citing health concerns and the need for rest. But that plan depends entirely on Xi's cooperation. If he suddenly changes his mind or refuses to comply, the transition process collapses instantly. In that event, the elders' only remaining mechanism would be a vote of removal by the Central Committee, a theoretically constitutional procedure, but one fraught with danger. More than 70% of the 205 full members are loyal to Xi. Individually, they can be persuaded or pressured. Yet once gathered in the same hall, self-preservation takes over, and no one can predict which side they would choose if the meeting turns chaotic. If Xi manages to turn the vote into a show of loyalty, he could still regain control, reversing the balance of power in an instant. And for General Zhang Youxia, that would be a political death sentence. He cannot afford to let Xi remain in power until the next party congress 2 years from now. The stakes for him are absolute. Within the party, power struggles have never allowed neutrality. It is always a contest for survival, not coexistence. For the elders, Xi's verbal promises mean little. They know he could revoke any agreement at the last minute. To ensure the transition truly happens, they must have an emergency plan, one that covers the moment Xi refuses to yield. And within the communist system, there is one enduring rule. Those who command the military determine the outcome. That is why the 82nd Group Army moved toward Beijing. It was not a routine drill. It was a calculated signal, the quiet pressure that precedes a political reckoning. Inside Beijing, discussions of a contingency plan have already begun. According to several well-placed sources, party elders Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, and Wang Yang have quietly coordinated a fallback strategy in case Xi refuses to step down at the Fourth Plenum. Their objective is simple but decisive: to ensure that the power transition proceeds, even if it means confronting Xi directly. At the center of this plan lies the Li Keqiang incident. The elders reportedly intend to reopen the investigation into the former premier's sudden death, an event long suspected to involve political motives. Evidence collected by internal oversight bodies is said to include documents, testimonies, and other classified materials that point to decisions made at the very top. For the elders, this is Xi's most vulnerable point, one that could be politically devastating if exposed. Until now, the topic was deliberately avoided. The elders wanted to preserve stability and avoid turning the succession into a public reckoning. But if Xi tears up the agreement and refuses to retire, that restraint will vanish. The Fourth Plenum would no longer be a ceremonial meeting. It could turn into a full-scale accountability session focused on Xi's record and actions. The logic behind this move is clear. Li Keqiang was seen as a technocrat with a clean image, free from corruption scandals. His unexpected death shocked the system, leaving many uneasy. By reopening the case, the elders would send a powerful reminder to the Central Committee. If such a man could fall without explanation, then no one within the party is truly safe. To make sure the transition proceeds smoothly, General Zhang Youxia has already positioned trusted officers at key posts. Liu Zhenli, chief of the Joint Staff, is said to be commanding the 82nd Group Army, securing the capital and the approaches to Zhongnanhai. Meanwhile, Zhang Shengmin, Vice Secretary of the Central Discipline Commission, has mobilized military inspectors to monitor the movements of senior security and intelligence officials closely aligned with Xi. In effect, the security landscape of Beijing is now under layered supervision. All military regions have reportedly been placed on high alert. Leaves are cancelled. Personnel are ordered to remain on base. The system is in a state of quiet readiness. For Zhang Youxia, there is no turning back. He has already placed his last bet on control and timing. The outcome now depends on how he plays his hand in the days ahead. Although Xi still has a narrow window to maneuver, his position has never been weaker. Within the Politburo Standing Committee, only Tsai Chi, his longtime confidant, remains fully aligned with him. The rest of the leadership has quietly distanced itself, waiting for the tide to turn. But even Tsai Chi is now entangled in multiple scandals. His family has been linked to the Yu Menglong case, and reports suggest he played a direct role in enforcing the sweeping online blackout that followed. The attempt to suppress the story only made it more explosive. Soon after, Tsai Chi himself became caught in an international controversy. His name surfaced in connection with a British intelligence investigation, drawing global attention and criticism. As for Xi, his image continues to erode at home and abroad. Stories about his daughter Yang Lanlan's lavish overseas lifestyle have circulated widely, fueling resentment at a time when China's economy is struggling under debt, unemployment, and widespread discontent. Within the party, many have begun to see him less as a leader and more as a liability. And yet, what could ultimately bring down Xi may not be the political pressure or the economic crisis, but something darker, the Yu Menglong tragedy. The case that once seemed like a celebrity tragedy is now reshaping public perception, exposing the inner decay of the system itself. In our program on September 20th, we mentioned an eerie coincidence. There is also a strange coincidence. Xi was born on June 15, 1953, while Yu Menglong was born on June 15, 1988, both sharing the same birth date. Xi's father, Xi Jinping, was born on October 15, 1913. And 9 years ago, another young actor, Chow, who died under similar circumstances, was born on October 15, 1987. Once again, the dates matched. It is no longer much of a secret that Xi suffers from serious health problems. Some reports suggest he faces serious health concerns, possibly a critical illness, with his condition seen as increasingly severe this year. Xi is also said to place strong faith in superstition, raising the possibility that he might turn to strange or unorthodox methods in an effort to prolong his life. That is where Yu Menglong's story takes its darkest turn. According to information from the geomancer Ma Xian and other sources, Xi and senior Communist Party officials have long been reported to place deep faith in superstition. This so-called life extension method works like this. When someone's fate is judged to be nearing its end, the ritualists, following a set of precise requirements, select another person whose 8-character natal chart, Bazi, matches the leader's, and that person is made to sacrifice in their stead. Performers and entertainers are often chosen because they possess dual-gendered features, men with feminine appearances or women with masculine traits, which supposedly make them especially suitable. In practice, this is a long, deliberate operation. Potential candidates are identified years in advance and then subjected to an extended, nurturing process to prepare them for the role. The process requires the chosen person to live under special restrictions in advance. Yu Menglong's final months showed strange signs. He appeared anxious and emaciated, often saying during live streams that he ate little other than vegetables. Xiaoren Liang, who died tragically in 2016, was also said to have gone through a period of strict vegetarianism before his death. Prior to that, whistleblowers claimed that Yu Menglong had been under long-term surveillance and mistreatment. His agent, Du Qiang, was reportedly the one tasked with carrying out such coercive control. Du had previously managed Xiaoren Liang as well, and later became Yu Menglong's agent, overseeing nearly every aspect of his daily life. Ma Qian explained that such a ritual must occur in the leader's zodiac year, the year of fate renewal. 2025 is the year of the snake, Xi's own zodiac sign. Certain environmental conditions were also considered necessary. Before the ritual could take place, there had to be the sound of flags and drums, large displays held in open spaces or on stages filled with movement and noise. The September 3rd military parade perfectly fit that requirement, serving as the grandest spectacle of flags and drums imaginable. Another element was the appearance of a blood moon, which occurred on September 7th and 8th. In addition, there needed to be wind, clouds, and lightning. And on September 10th and 11th, around the time of Yu Menglong's death, the sky over Beijing briefly flashed with lightning, completing every condition the ritual called for. On September 10th, Yu Menglong was held for an entire day, as the participants carried out a severe ceremonial act meant to separate the spirit from the body. The process was described as involving invasive procedures, intended to fulfill the final stage of the ritual. As part of the belief system, 7 participants each claimed to have received one element of Yu's spirit, beginning a secondary ceremony known as opening the path of life. According to those familiar with the ceremony, the first participant in the procession was said to shout ritual phrases symbolizing material pleasures. Words like good to eat and good to wear, each carrying a specific meaning within the rite. After the incident, Chen Qing-song, later identified as a suspect, reportedly posted the same phrase, good to eat, on social media before quickly deleting it, raising public suspicion. Years earlier, following the death of Qiao Renliang, Cheng had posted identical words, leading many to believe the two cases were connected through a similar ritual pattern. In this type of secretive ritual, there is said to be a stage known as the wandering spirit phase, performed while the chosen person is still conscious. Online footage that later surfaced appeared to show Yu Menglong being supported by several people as he was made to walk back and forth along a hallway shortly before his death. Observers interpreted the scene as part of that ritual sequence. During this stage of the ritual, participants were also said to collect the Yu Menglong's fingernails along with gemstones featuring concentric circle patterns, symbols believed to carry spiritual resonance. After Yu Menglong's tragic fall, investigators reportedly found 2 limited edition Rolex watches on him, both with dials designed in concentric rings. In addition, they reportedly cut Yu Menglong's hair and took it to Tibet, where a separate ritual ceremony was performed. This coincided with the Rising Dragon fireworks show on September 19th, held more than 5,000 meters above sea level in the Himalayas. The massive fireworks display, conducted in such a remote location, soon sparked widespread public controversy. The 49th day after the ritual is known as the 49-day rite, a point believed to mark the renewal of life and fortune. By coincidence, the Fourth Plenum is scheduled to fall within that 49-day window, the most critical moment in the current struggle for power at the top. For Xi, it represents precisely the time when he hopes to regain his strength and restore his political fortune. But rituals like this, even if only believed in by a few, rarely end without consequence. They leave traces, not only in politics, but in nature itself. Just days after Yu Menglong's tragedy, Beijing was struck by one of the fiercest hailstorms in recent memory. Ice hammered the city in broad daylight, a violent storm that locals said felt unnatural. 2 days later, on September 15th, an ancient Bodhi tree at Tanzhe Temple, one of Beijing's oldest monasteries, suddenly split apart with a thunderous crack. Monks said it was the same tree that had dropped a branch in 1976, the night Mao Zedong passed away. To many, these were only coincidences, yet to others, they were warnings. Symbols that power built on fear and deception cannot last forever. Despite the government's suppression, Yu Menglong's name continues to circulate online and abroad. International media, from Foreign Policy and the BBC to the Straits Times and Taiwan's Central News Agency, have all reported on his case. A global petition calling for justice has now exceeded 230,000 signatures, growing every day. Yu Menglong's death has become a mirror reflecting the regime itself. What began as a silent tragedy has turned into a symbol of awakening, exposing the fear, corruption, and superstition that lie at the heart of China's ruling circle. The storm that started in secret is now breaking in the open. The countdown has begun. What happens at the Fourth Plenum will decide not only who holds power in Beijing, but how history remembers them all. If you believe the truth deserves to be heard, share this video and stand with those who still dare to speak. The Fourth Plenum is approaching fast. What unfolds in Beijing could change China forever. Stay with us, and we'll be watching. Get the real story behind the CCP's shifting power games and see where US-China relations are headed next. Support the vision of a new China without communism. Subscribe now and join us in bringing the truth to light.